Hi, my uncle died a few weeks ago at the time you're watching this video, and you probably don't care. You clicked this video because it's Minecraft related, and it is indeed related to Minecraft. But since everyone has the attention span of a goldfish, and this video won't even reach 400 views, highly doubt you will stay for my little confessional. But if you didn't click off the video already, that means you want to hear my story. So let's get this over with. So a few months ago, I collapsed on the street due to health condition, and recently I started to spit blood, having some trouble breathing. My eyes felt like they were burning, and what infuriated me the most was the fact that I couldn't move. I was incapacitated on the street, and nobody came to help. Everyone was in complete indifference, and I had to wait there until somehow my uncle found me laying on the scorching rocks of the sidewalk. And to that person who just looked at me when I had tunnel vision, thinking I was a junkie getting high on the street. No, sir. I am a human being just like you, and all I wanted was your help. I just felt hate toward everyone walking past me on the street that day. Then I remembered that one time I invited a long-lost friend of mine to a Discord call for a Minecraft event. And to my surprise, he started to spam racist message and videos related to the Australian painter and the group with 3K in the Discord, and everyone was okay with it. He then proceeded to lead everyone in the Discord against me, and started to make racist jokes toward my person. So after recovering from the sidewalk incident and returning home, I remembered that they decided to make another Minecraft event. So I thought to myself, what if I just cyberbullied those people? What if I just calmly and peacefully started to pour all my hate on those people?
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
How do you break a group's friendship with a broken mobile device that barely runs 20 frames per second? Simple. You led them against each other's. And how do you emotionally manipulate a friend group into borderline hating each other, you may ask? Well, picture this. 8 months ago, the French YouTuber Carapace organized an event on Minecraft, and someone ruined it. I ruined it. And to understand how I ruined it, we must first jump back in time and get the context of the event. Carapace also couldn't post any related video of the event on his YouTube channel due to the Wither bombing incident. What is the Wither bombing incident, you may ask? Well, an individual found a way to smuggle an astonishing amount of Wither skulls and soul sand in the event without the direct help of the admin. Here's what happened. All the players joined the server. There were a total of 7 players. Carapace, the admin who also played the game mode with his teammates, Lorik, who helped building the map and the spawn, Killian, an overly racist, misogynistic, anti-Semite, and borderline a neo-Nazi individual with an IQ of below average. He doesn't even know how to craft a wooden sword. Wasim, one of Carapace's closest friend, Timothy, a very naive 12-year-old boy with dyslexia. Akram, nothing to say about this one. And at last, me, your host of today, was invited. Each players automatically appear at the spawn when joining the game. After a few minutes, the admin explained the rules. Each players were assigned a color of team and based randomly by a dispenser. Timothy and Akram were green team, Wasim and Killian blue. And since we were 7, and I was the weakest, I had to go red with the admin and Lorik. Now hang up because you're about to get more mindfuck than your mother on prom night. This is the most complex part of the case. At the start of the event, when everyone was at spawn, the admin killed everyone to make sure nobody had any illegal items, even killing himself, and no one dropped any items. What's crazier is that after the event ended, all players got a confirmation from the Wither bomber that he had at least 8 stacks of soul sand and Wither skulls. That's at least 128 Wither. So how did I do it? How did I give myself those Withers and ruin Carapace's event?
It's not how I fooled you, do you? How did I survive that bomb?
You see, I joined the game map one day before the event, and got in a Discord call with Carapace and Lorik, who were finishing building the map. And all I had to do next was pissing them off so much that they put me in visitor mode. They thought I couldn't bother them anymore, because when you're in visitor mode, you can't place nor destroy any blocks. Little did they know when you're in visitor mode, that the default game mode of everyone is in creative mode. You can still give yourself any item you want from the creative menu. It also means that as soon as you're back from visitor to normal mode, Well, you can place, use, and destroy any item you gave yourself previously. And that's how I gave myself 128 withers. This isn't a bug. This feature was in Bedrock because, unlike Java, the game didn't have spectator mode at the time and people didn't want players to grief their base. But in the case of Carapace and Lorik, it backfired badly. That's why I told you 3 months ago that I didn't use any glitch or bug to perform this trick. The Wither Bomber did not use any glitch to get those withers. The Wither Bomber did not help to build anything on the map. But how about the spawn trick? How did I keep the items after everyone got killed by Carapace? Why didn't I drop anything when I died? Because I didn't have the items when I died. You see, I had someone helping me for this trick. Remember Timothy? I convinced him to help me ruin the event. And what on earth did I tell to that boy to convince him of joining me, you may ask? I went to him one day before the event, and after I got the withers. But long story short, I told him that we lived in a society that did not accept people winning, so the real victory is when everybody loses. And just like that, he joined me. Anyway, when everyone was at spawn before the start of the event, Carapace was explaining the rules of the event. Timothy and I used that opportunity to create chaos in the Discord channel, which resulted in Killian doing a 7-minute racist rant, which gave both of us enough time to hide the items in a chest we concealed in a mountain. Which meant that when Carapace killed everyone, the items were already hidden somewhere. All Timothy had to do was go to the mountain and retrieve the withers to start the plan. And I'm gonna be honest, I almost did not execute the plan and felt guilty for what I was about to do. Yes, I felt guilty until Killian insulted and made racist jokes about one of my loved one who had breast cancer at the time.
Who are you to butt in here and make obnoxious judgments about me?
All I had to do now was to message Timothy to execute the plan. And you can see that I did not only give myself the items to summon the withers, I gave myself invisibility and speed to potions, that way the withers will not target us when we summon it. And with speed 2, you can easily outrun it. Speed 2 allow us to cover large distance and come back to our base in case of suspicion. And the invisibility makes it so no one could ever saw us summon the withers. And don't get me wrong, this isn't some anime protagonist routine video. It's just me hating on some racist kids. So don't worry, we are not gonna wake up at 3 in the morning and float for 4 minutes in the air. Now stay with me. The fact that I choose to use withers and not anything else is not a coincidence. You see, when you kill someone in Minecraft, it directly shows the death message of the victim and the name of the person who killed them. But when you summon a wither and said wither kill someone, the death message say that the person got poisoned by a wither or with a skeleton without ever mentioning the person who summoned the wither. Meaning that with the invisibility potions and the death message trick, Timothy and myself cannot be traced back to the withers when it kills a player. And to add salt to the injuries, this is a Bedrock wither which has twice more health as the Java wither, which is 300. It creates a giant explosion when you summon it. It summons wither skeletons when you get it to second phase, and of course, you can add a force field that repel any projectile to that. It can also dive toward or forward, which is perfect for destroying any construction made by the people you despise.
Hey, mind this whole thing down. Yo, come here. Yo, you good? What's going on? Oh my gosh!
And did I mention that it automatically self-destructs upon its death? But by far, its best ability is the fact that it's aware that you're actively trying to kill it. Which means this 3-headed sentient being will hastily back away while shooting skulls that will decay you upon contact and ignore your armor's protection. And of course, it will chase you at Mach speed on 300 blocks of distance if you try to run away. 128. I can summon 128 flying death sentences on those people. Once Timothy got hold of the items at the hiding spot, I told him via Discord messages to Witherbomb Killian and Wasim at the Blue Base when the sun began to rise as to not raise suspicion of his current meeting with me. And regardless of if the sun is at its zenith or not, Timothy will be quick and untraceable due to the potions. So the next day he made it through the woods and spawned a wither near their base. Only one wither, which introduces us to another fun fact about planning something. never put all your trust into a stranger when you were making a plan, because after summoning only one wither, Timothy ran away, dumped the items, and killed himself due to running out of food, which also introduces to another fun fact about planning. If you know they're gonna mess up part of what you told them to do, then only give them a minor role in your plan. You see, when Timothy dumped the items, his thought process was that they were gonna despawn. He never thought he could go back to the mountain and store the items back. But he also didn't know that I spawned 2 withers in his base when he was gone. That's why I did not give him every items. That's why I had an ender chest in the mountain. And from here, you're probably thinking I betrayed Timothy. But here's the thing, Killian and Wasim are the only one dying right now, and oh boy, they're dying a lot. But the thing is, they died in a game. Big deal. They're just gonna move on after a while. But if I convince them that their friends are the one responsible of the ensuing chaos, then they'll begin to hate each other. And how did I do that, you may ask? Well, when Timothy summoned a wither at the blue base, I went and retrieved some items from the mountain. I pretexted that I was gonna spy on Timothy's base to my teammates when in reality I just spawned 2 withers when he was out. When I finished, I ran away to the main spawn and summoned a wither in that location. That way I can actually pretend I got attacked and killed by a wither on the way back to my teammates. And the cherry on top of the cake is, Carapace and Lorik are the only people who were not killed by the withers, and they are also the only people with permanent access to creative mode. And since Timothy, his teammate, and I quickly died after Killian and Wasim, they were convinced that Carapace and Lorik were the only one capable of summoning the withers, which is all part of my plan. At first, they were shocked, then they started to complain, but the damage were already done. Now they were insulting each other in a Discord call while Timothy and I were listening to them. Because the withers are not the focus of the plan, it's just a way to project their hate into their friends. A great example of this is that if the wither at your base destroy your bed, you're teleported back to the spawn where the wither I summoned is gonna undo your character infinitely. And fun fact, at the beginning of the game when Carapace killed everyone at spawn, he did not use the /kill command. He used a netherite sword that he dropped somewhere. That sword was later found by Timothy's team. Anyway, due to the abnormal situation they were in, they took almost an hour before realizing they could just put peaceful mode to get rid of the withers, but the damage were already done. But back in the Discord call, Carapace said that he had a copy of the map just in case an incident would happen, which would cancel all I did with Timothy. So I quickly came with a strategy to prevent another event in the same day. I created a group effect. First I said that I was quitting the event. Then I told Timothy to quit via Discord messages, who then told his clueless teammate to quit, creating a chain reaction. Funnily enough, Lorik then quitted the event too. Then Wasim, Killian, then Carapace was alone in the voice chat. And you know what? The most satisfying part of that Discord meeting was when Killian started to defend me, because I was quote-unquote with the admin, thus incapable of doing it. So yes, I got away with it. Carapace has been my friend for more than 2 years. It's just that he had a lot of bad frequentations, so please don't insult or harass him. But you know what they say, right? If you wanna hate somebody, do it right. And that's what I said to myself at the time. I didn't just stop after the chain reaction, because I knew he was gonna use that copy one day or another. So I arranged a meeting in a Discord voice chat with Carapace and Lorik. But for whatever forsaken reason, Timothy decided to show up with me. In our conversation, I mentioned to them half of the truth. Timothy told them he was my accomplice. I told them that since I had the items concealed somewhere in the destroyed map, that also meant I thought of hiding multiple chests filled with items scattered around the map. And since the copy is, well, a copy, it also means that whatever items I had on the previous server are on the copy. Which is, by the way, a well-crafted lie. But of course, they bought into it because I told Timothy to record all of the wither bombing incident and post it on YouTube. After that, I told them that if they ever try to organize another event, I'll find a way to infiltrate someone and spawn more withers. So they kicked me off the Discord and didn't organize another event for 7 months.
You probably have a lot of questions for me, huh? We have time if you want.
You indeed have a lot of questions. One of them is, why are you using Sheriff Thomas McAllister as your avatar? Because I joined a Minecraft server where I had a sheriff skin after the Wither bombing. Second question is, why is there so much hidden messages in my videos? Well, it's for Carapace. If you watched my videos for a while, you've probably seen those weird exclamation marks and this weird message. What do they mean? Well, the encrypted message is really just Minecraft alphabet that you have to translate to English, then to French, but apparently Carapace was too dumb to understand that.
Smart but dumb.
As for the exclamation marks, well, remember what I said 3 months ago. They usually leave exclamation mark on crime scene to taunt his victims.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
Also, I had this in my pocket since last month. But anyway, Mortal Kombat Jason. Until then, I was your host for today, and this was the number exclamation point episode of Into the Dark. But why would I taunt him? Because I persuaded him to re-invite me in another event. I just wanted to outsmart him one last time. But this time, I was gonna use the very rules of his own event to outsmart him. Remember what I said about the fake with the chests? Well, turns out Carapace made a copy of the map after I gave myself the items, which means when I joined the event I had, and gave them the items, which from their perspective proved that I have chests full of those items around the map, which is again just a lie. But now they think that if I don't play, the event will be ruined again. They also needed another player, so I brought one in. Now Carapace was with Lorik, Timothy with Kulian, and I was with the mystery player since Wassam, and Akram hated Minecraft due to my previous doings. But talking about rules, what are the rules of this event? What is even the name of the event? Well, for the sake of this video, we will just name it Carapace's Fallen Kingdom. As soon as you spawn, you'll have to use a dispenser that will give you a wool color. The color of the wool is the color of your team. Your base is in a 30 by 30 zone, 300 blocks away from spawn. You can't place or break blocks outside of your base, and it's not like there's a plugin that prevents you from doing it. You're just disqualified if you do it. I wouldn't have been able to hide the items otherwise. The only blocks you're allowed to break are the ones inside your base, and the one that you use to get resources at the beginning of the event like wood, stone, and some minerals. But you're not allowed to break nor place any blocks in the base of the other team. The event lasts for 4 hours. Each hour is a day. Day 1 is like in Five Nights at Freddy's. It's peaceful mode, and you have time to gather resources. Day 2 is started with hard mode and PvP is enabled. You can kill anyone outside of their base, but if they step inside you can't enter with them. At Day 3, you have access to the nether portal in the spawn, but so do the other players. And Day 4 is the day where you can raid bases. Each players must have a 5-block tall wall all around their base to defend or participate a raid. A raid is when a team attack your base and try to find something called a treasure room. The only way they can access your base is by placing TNT to break the wall or with a creeper. And yes, placing TNT is legal in the rule, but only for 2 things: destroying the wall and destroying the other team's treasure room, which eliminate them from the game. You can use trials and traps to defend the treasure room, but you can only use 2 trials. You can design whatever trial you want. The only limit is your imagination, but you can't use mobs to attack players or help you in the trials. I really wonder why. Also, the trials must be accessible to any players, which mean you can't build anything too complicated. You can ally with the other teams, but there can only be one left. And using ender pearls is not authorized. So how am I gonna win with all these rules? Well, you have to understand something in the first place. I don't have any actual skills in Minecraft. I suck at PvP. I'm not a build master, nor am I a redstone genius. I'm just an average man. Nothing more, and nothing less. And let's be honest, if you gave me 4 hours to gather resources by myself, all I would have in those 4 hours are probably gonna be food, half of a leather armor set, an iron sword, a shield, and some blocks. I am that bad at the game. So why did I started playing in the first place then? Because I wanted to have fun on a game with a friend. I never expected to be discriminated for my skin color by some guy with a Joker profile picture. Anyway, how could I win the game with so many self-inflicted handicap? Well, at first, I thought about 3 things. First two is destroying their items and defending my base with an end crystal or a nether anchor trap. Third is using a missile on their base, since pistons don't place blocks. They push it somewhere, thus I'm not breaking any rules, but I can't achieve any of the three. End crystal and nether anchor require too much resources, and I can't solely focus on that for hours. The missile has the same requirement, and I can only use TNT to destroy the wall of their base. So it's not gonna help much. I guess we're back at square one. So now, you're probably wondering what kind of method I'm gonna use, don't you? Well, I have a degree in psychology. Just kidding. But since the majority of you may have already clicked of the video, here's my final plan. All human beings desire something. For some it may be affection, for others it may be money, and for most it's control. And I can play on that. For example, take this guy from a Skywars game I was on. He wants to win, and the final impasse that blocks his progression is me. I only have leather armor and a gold sword, and I've been spawn camping for all the game. From this guy's perspective, he's been killing everyone since the start of the game, so he get that little boost of confidence that we all have when we feel like we've elevated ourselves compared to others. He's eliminated dozens of people, and surely a defenseless guy in leather armor is not that much to handle for him. So he starts to bridge towards me. He gets closer and closer, and then he sees me running in a little cave. He feels like he's in control, like he's hunting me. He checks into the cave, and he sees a head hitter, the most basic trap that exists. For him, it's a last resort from the defenseless guy, a pathetic entrapment attempt. So he climbs up. He breaks the specific block that make the head hitter a trap. From that point on, he completely let his guard down. He felt absolute control over me. He decides to jump in the cave. He wants to taunt me, obviously. He opens the chat. But before he can type, I cut the grass under his feet. Only after he sent the message he realized that he was falling into the void. Because from his perspective, I was desperate. I was helpless. And he died because he thought I was of no harm. Now it's time to use that method in the event. So first off, for my trial, I decided to create a Discord voice chat. That way anyone who want to raid me is obligated to reveal themselves, and Discord also reduced their in-game sound depending on what they used to call. So me and my teammate decided to gather as much resources as possible until raid day. And when it finally arrived, I knew I had already won, because the game itself was a trap. I won as soon as they started the event. They say the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So for one last time, let's throw our friends into another mind game of mine. When I rewatched Timothy's previous POV in the Wither bombing incident, I couldn't help but notice that Lorik was wearing and brought both me and Carapace enough resources to craft 2 full diamond armor, and all the tools for both of us, as well as for himself. Meaning whoever Lorik was gonna be with in the current Fallen Kingdom, that being with Carapace was gonna be the most powerful and stacked team in the game, potentially wearing diamond or netherite armor. So I waited until raid day. I waited for them to arrive, but at that point everything seemed to be falling down since Carapace and Lorik eliminated Timothy and Killian. I had a call with Carapace earlier where he was bragging about his full diamond armor Lorik brought him. I told him that the only thing I had was a leather helmet to further facilitate the thought of him being in control. So once they eliminated the other team, they arrived at my base to eliminate my team and finish the game. Once they breached in, they saw a house with 2 doors inside. I then told them that I was gonna ask each of them 2 questions, and based on if it's right or wrong, I'm gonna assign them one of the 2 doors to go through. But I never said verbatim to them that this was the trial. They just assumed it was because that was the only thing in plain sight. But before further explanation, let's take a look at our surrounding for a second. At first, they see the 2 doors in the room with deception marked on both of them. And deception doesn't mean lying in French. It means sadness and tragedy. Then they see me with only a leather helmet, which helped to further induce the fact that they're the one in control. Because if I showed up with no armor, I was just gonna look like I didn't had time to farm anything in the past for hours. But if I show up with only 1 piece of armor, it gives them the feeling that I tried to gather resources. But this is the only thing I could get my hand on. They think that I'm desperately trying to compete with their fancy gears with my pathetic helmet. then they see the carpets. They didn't really think much of it, but then Lorik broke one carpet and saw the surprise I planted under it. This is a carpet trap, one of the oldest trap in Minecraft. You attach signs to a block and put carpets above the signs, and when you break the block it destroys the contraption and make the target fall in a hole. They laughed at it, but it didn't really matter since I wasn't planning on using it yet. Right now, they feel like they breached in my final defense. They realized that they could just crouch on the side of a block to avoid the trap, which I placed there to lull them into a false sense of security. Anyway, I asked both of them one question. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what they answer since this isn't the trial, and I'm gonna assign them whatever door I want anyway. Look at him. He thought that he was clever when he decided to get out of the house to avoid the carpets. Right now, they both feel like they counted all my traps. So when I assigned them both a door, they had no idea all of this was a setup. And I think the biggest advantage for a mobile player is that you can press a button once and you can stay crouched forever, which means they had no idea I planted someone underground. Meet Draven. My teammate and little brother. And by the way, he was in the beginning of the video, because this clip isn't a recording of the Wither bombing. This is a recording of the actual game of Fallen Kingdom I am explaining. Anyway, this is a crit out. It's a trapping contraption designed specially to block a player inside of it. There's slabs that prevent them from placing blocks to go up, signs to prevent them from also placing blocks in case the slabs break, which is followed by a tiny stone wall that, you guessed it, prevent them from placing blocks. But since we can still spam click on bedrock, I placed stairs to block their line of sight. And if you're attentive, you probably remember the rule which state that any team who place or break a block in enemy territory is disqualified, meaning they can't break out to kill us. They can't hit us through because of the stairs. They can't even place blocks even if they wanted to. And just like that, I killed a full diamond and took possession of all his items. They spent 4 hours mining and grinding just to see their progression being taken away from them because of the very rules they created. They tried so hard, they got so far, but in the end, well, it doesn't even matter. Because of what use is your sword if you can't swing? Of what use is your speed if you can't run? And of what use are your gears if it is for me to take ownership of it? But what about Lorik? Well, we took him hostage and we used him as leverage. Since Lorik is responsible for all of Carapace's resources, if we take him hostage it vastly weaken Carapace's team. We already took his full diamond. But the thing is, we can just 2 versus 1 him now due to all the items we stole from him. So to prevent that, I told him that he must give us some other items he had at his base. I would just ask for his gold, his diamonds, and all the bows and arrows in his chests. Once he returned to my base, I would break those 2 pieces of glass and instruct him to depose all the items in the chest. And as soon as he opened it, I'll activate the carpet trap, which will make him fall into those plungy sticks, which is, by the way, a real trap used in the Vietnam War. Now we just hit him through the stairs and take his items again. And then I release Lorik by beating him with my sword until he respawned back to his base. We'll then use his netherite and slaughter Carapace and him until they forfeit, because without their previous resources they'll be in iron armor without bow and arrows, unable to craft netherite since I took all their gold in the trade. And it really doesn't matter if they got rid of Timothy and Killian. I was gonna use them as distraction anyway. I also don't need to explain to you why 2 players with iron armor would get absolutely wrecked by 2 players in netherite with golden apples. And with all these missile and hostage talk, it really just reminded me of a certain Death Note character. But before I could execute the next part of the plan, Lorik broke the blocks and killed both me and Draven.
Breadcrumbs?
But like I said to you earlier, the game itself is a trap. You see, most crit out are usually made out of wood, but not this one. We made it out of stone and cobblestone, since we killed Carapace right beside our hostage. He felt like he was stripped of his rightfully earned victory, and since most people usually carry a pickaxe more often than an axe, well, we made the crit out of stone. meaning if he do break the blocks, and he did, it will break the rule of not breaking blocks in enemy territory, making him eliminating his own team, setting of my contingency, and giving me the victory. But Carapace was so pissed off about it that he said it was a tie and nobody won, which is stupid. He literally got butthurt because he got outsmarted by his own rules, and now he's coping. He also said he could lied and give me small amount of the requested items for the trade. But Carapace, buddy, we were in a Discord call. All I had to do was telling you to screen share your game before going to your base, and you could have done nothing about it. And right now, you're probably wondering something. If this wasn't the trial, then what was the trial? Remember what I said about how Discord could diminish your in-game sound? See this ladder? It gives access to outside if you break the dirt block covering the entry. Draven broke it after Lorik entered back in the forced trial. Draven broke the dirt. But since they were so focused on the carpet trap, and because of the sound diminishing, well, they didn't investigate much, meaning at this point, they could have won the trial. Such a shame for them. In the end, the greatest trap of all time isn't a trap at all. It's the emotions of the people you are playing. Thanks for watching and happy Easter. Don't forget to like and comment if you enjoyed this video. Until then, I was your host for today, and this was the 9th episode of Into the Dark.